right, as our missionaries come up here, we are going to share with you this morning our experiences in Palawan, the mission trip we did this year. So we have quite a few slides to go, and as we go through these things, each person who has something to say will just kind of step forward and share with you. So we just recently returned. We've been back for about a month now, I guess, from the Philippines, and we had such an amazing trip this year. A lot of different areas where we were able to connect with the people, connect with each other, go through some hardships, a lot of construction, and we'll show you guys the end result here. But let's go to our first slide. Oh, so here we are. We're in the plane for a long time. So this is just showing our trip over there. We left from Dulles and flew over kind of Alaska area. We're still in the plane. Yes, this is our 16-hour flight. Our first flight went from Dulles to Korea. Still in the flight, guys. Still there. 16 hours is a very long time. And we've made it into Korea. Well, here we are. So, from Korea to Manila. So we had a flight to Korea, then we had to fly to Manila, which is about a 4-hour flight. And then once we get to Manila, we actually have another flight that's a little over an hour, and that gets us into Puerto Princesa. And once we get to Puerto Princesa, well, this is actually in Korea. So as you can see, quite a few people were very tired and taking naps. And then we have Rita, who's like the Energizer Bunny. She was always on the go, so she's reading. All right, and finally, we have arrived in Puerto Princesa. So we have completed all of our flight time, and we are now going to be getting something to eat before we have about a little over 3-hour trip in I don't even want to call it a bus. It's a vehicle of some sort. So one of the favorite places we like to eat is at the Adventist Hospital in Puerto Princesa. And this is our little vehicle that we are traveling in, all squished in the back. And then the Filipino way is, if you can fit one more in there, go ahead. And maybe 2 or 3 more. So we have some that are sitting on the floor.
And I think at one point they had 20 Filipinos in the back of this vehicle, which is very exciting because it barely fit, 14 of us. Let's just squish a couple more in.
So once we got to the farm, we would start each day with morning worship. How important it is to kind of start your day with God, and we were able to fellowship with each other. We each took turns kind of sharing a worship thought or a theme for that morning. And we were also blessed to have some of the farm workers with us who are natives. And so we had a little bit of a transition trying to do some translation of our worship services. And thank you to Christina and Quianap, who did a lot of our translating for us. So we would just share a thought at a time. And one of my favorite worship times was when Gordon shared with us, and basically the life of Joseph, which is a very inspiring story. All the hardships he went through and just praising God through it all. And, that kind of sets us up in any mission field of, you're going to meet with hardship, and do we complain? Do we have lack of faith? Or do we praise God, for what he's doing and just trust that he's going to bring something good out of it? And we have a little video here. It's not going to work. Okay. This was just a video of us singing. All right. And so we are going to start our construction time. And 6 a.m. is when we got up for worship. and then shortly after we were starting construction. And we started right away, not even breakfast time yet. And there's a lot of different jobs that we worked on. So if anyone wants to share kind of what they did during construction.
So the first day that we showed up, we had some time to assess, the progress that had been made, and it was great progress. Mike and the crew there at the farm, they brought it a long way. So it was really nice to see that we had such a head start. And thought somebody was interjecting there. But anyway, there was. What was really neat for me was to see how once again everybody engaged in the ownership of the tasks that they were given, and they didn't lose their skill set, even though they don't do this every single day, right? They picked up from where they were at from the last mission trip, and were able to go even further beyond that, and just had more confidence in knowing that they could do this, and so they were picking up tasks like, oh yeah, I could do that too. So they were hanging sheets of material that were probably 3/4 the weight of themselves, which was pretty cool, and getting things all set up, and the girls were putting up soffitting and all of that. You'll see that a little bit later. But anyways, my main task was running electrical. I finished up some interior wall builds with Tim and Melissa, which was great because, they were 100% all in. I thought that was awesome. Tim was a huge asset. That guy is just impressive.
I spent a lot of time on my knees, and I still have the scar from.
Oh boy, oh boy. So yeah, he went from that to monkeying around up on the roof. So, which is pretty cool. That he has the energy that he does. I aspire to be like you. So we built, so the idea was to have a office for the aviation and farm crew that's currently there, as well as many apartments as we could fit on this 15 by 60 pad of concrete. So Mike and Ray, and was Bim Bim part of the whole thing, and Madel, were they all part of the whole prior construction?
Yep.
You want to talk?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually didn't do much of anything on the build prior to the team getting there, but I did help facilitate. So yeah, Madil, Bim Bim, Chris, I think he was there. Yeah, Chris was there, and Ray, and Renee. Those were the big ticket. Renee helped a lot. Once the cement was down, then Renee, he was really looking forward to framing. He likes that.
Sweet.
So my dad's farm, that's in the lowlands. I was just gonna help people kind of see the picture. We have work up in the mountains, but then we have a lowland base of operation, and that's the farm. There's a hangar that houses a bush plane that's been there for years. What we did is we added on this addition to the side where there's housing and the office. So this was huge, because this has been many, many years in the need for this.
I thought what was really interesting is that everybody had to work together. It wasn't like, there's a picture here that shows making trusses. Now, we think of trusses as being wood, big pieces of wood. But over there, everything has to be metal. There is nothing that's not metal. It's either paper, if it's paper or wood or anything, the termites will just eat it, and it'll be nothing left. And so everything had to be out of metal, and they had all these pieces of metal already bent, ready to go, and then we had to make 32 trusses. Well, we barely got started. It was like we did like 2 in an hour, and by the time we got finished, we did one about every 4 or 5 minutes. And so it went very, very rapidly, but everybody had to work together. There was not like you could be no man his island. It wouldn't work. Everybody had to work. It didn't matter what you were doing, picking up a scaffolding, whatever. But it was wonderful that it was a small group. If it had been any more people, people would have been standing around wondering what to do. And this allowed the folks that were there, the people who lived there, to be able to be very engaged, because this is their project. And so they were able to put lots of time and effort into it, which I thought was probably the neatest thing about the small group. And we were able to really get close. I'm just going to mention, someone mentioned this guy, Bim Bim. He was one of a kind. There's no doubt about Bim Bim. And someplace, he'll be there someplace. But, bottom left, all right? And he was vitally important for the project there. He knows the mountain language, the lowland language, and English. So anytime someone went to the hospital, he had to be there. And we were able to develop a relationship. And I told him before we left, I said, we'll be praying for you that God will give you direction in your life. And so we've kept in contact, and he sent pictures of what's going on. But that was really neat to have time to have that relationship over a week. And probably for me, one of the highlights is when, I don't know if there's any pictures of that, but when he took us, he wanted to show us his home and where his family was and where he grew up. And that was very special for all of us that went and did that. But it was very special for him because he got to show us his world, which was extra special.
Any more construction comments?
We're not construction workers, and well, other than Stacy and I don't know, a couple of the men. But I know Tira and Jen struggled, and I did too, and Melissa. It was hard, and it took all the determination and patience in the world to get some of these projects done. Some days was just like, kind of crying at the end of the day because it was hot and things were heavy, and getting the screws in through 2 pieces of metal is extremely difficult. So it was challenging, for sure.
I swept a lot. I kept one of the people who kept it clean.
Rita did an amazing job keeping everything clean, and I've met a soffit, and I hope to never meet another one, okay? So I know what they are now. All right, and we had some amazing helpers. This was not just a project for adults, guys. The kids jumped in. They were doing a lot. They were using drills. They were cutting all the foam for the insulation. You can see them even sweeping and cleaning up. And so we are so thankful. And mission work is not just, get there, get the job done. It's including, those who live and work there. It's including our youth to be able to learn and work alongside us. So this was amazing to see them join in. And, oh, yes. And you can see Skylar right there had just the week or so before we got there had broken his arm. So he was still out there with a broken arm helping.
He fell out of a mango tree.
Yeah.
Not advised.
Yes.
So, one thing I will say, it was really neat on going along with what, the kids helping. It's oftentimes we include our kids more for the benefit for them learning. Like we could oftentimes do things quicker ourselves, but it may take longer. But I know for Kanan and Mariah, who are here, I'll speak for them, they were fully engaged. I mean, Kanan was so eager to get up on the trusses, up on the roof to drill. If it was anything with drilling, he was in for. And and it was really encouraging seeing a good work attitude and the willingness to learn. And anyways, had some really good helpers.
That's one thing that anytime I would go and take pictures, I would notice, because Stacy's not always been known to be the most patient person, especially when it comes to working on something that he knows full well, through and through, trying to teach somebody else how to do it. But every time I went to take a picture, he was showing and teaching Kanan how to do something. Cool. And you know, Kanan's full board into it and wanting to do all the work, so he's, you know, listening, and I don't know how he felt about it, but I think Stacy enjoyed it.
And don't forget, kids will be kids. So they were having fun with a lot of the foam pieces.
And we commented how it was like, I think at that day it was snowing here. And so they said, you know, we've made our own snow.
So one thing I will say with the installation, so here when we need building supplies, we'll go to Lowe's, or maybe they don't have it, so we'll go to, you know, Home Depot or 84 Lumber, whoever the supplier is. You've got, seems to be endless options. Insulation, something that you would think would be very simple, or doors. I got the only 4 doors in the capital city that were in stock. Like literally, like we had enough to have a uniform set of doors for everything that we had. And then the insulation is like, okay, I'll go buy some insulation. This was in January or February. I think we were like a month out, and I've learned a lot. Don't procrastinate, or don't put off. Like, even though you may think you have plenty of time, you may need to go shopping early and not wait. But we were trying to get fiberglass insulation, so you go to the store and, hey, do you have any fiberglass insulation? No, out of stock. Go to a glass shop. It's like, no, this is insulation. Well, they hear glass. And so long story short, no one had fiberglass insulation, which turned out to be a huge blessing. So through searching around the city, I went to a small little hardware store in Chinatown, which is in downtown Puerto, and to a boat shop. Well, sorry, they had foam insulation that they used for making big cooler boxes for these fishing boats. And I emptied pretty much everything they had, and it was enough. And you know, oftentimes when things don't work out, maybe another door will open, which turned out to be better, because this insulation was much better than the fiberglass that we could have gotten, because the fiberglass that we were looking at, which was the only option, was, you know, very thin, since you're in the Philippines. So anyways.
You can see Mariah putting it up in the wall.
So you can see the beginning of where we started, where they had all the steel walls prepared for us, and where we got to in the end. And actually, this is not the very end. There's doors and windows that are already starting to be in there. So a lot of work, all the trusses, all the roofing, all the cement board, all the wiring. So a lot was accomplished, a lot more than we really expected to get done. So.
Yeah, I did plumbing.
Yes.
I will say, if there's a desire to learn, going on a mission trip is a wonderful opportunity. Stacy did electrical. I did plumbing. I had never done from like start to finish plumbing, and it's great education for those that may want to learn something.
Here's Michael contemplating all the plumbing. Sitting on the
sitting on the toilet. So we would, like I said, we got up at 6 a.m., had worship. We would work until about 9 in the morning so that we could get a lot of work done before it started to get really hot. At 9, we would break and have breakfast, and then work again until about 3 o'clock, and we'd have our evening meal. And at the end of a long day, we would close with worship again, which was some pretty amazing experiences, just gathering together and, you know, coming from different areas in life and yet praising the same God, you know. And so you'll see in some of the pictures we look a little tired. It's because it was a really long day. But the worship times were very, very special.
So one of the things that I was, what I thought was a blessing was the connection that was growing between us and the villagers there. So now this is our second time with some of these individuals, and it was really neat to see how a once very shy and apprehensive individual was starting to speak out and share their heart, to the group, and they are very shy people and very reserved, and it was neat, especially these two girls sitting on each side of Melissa. They shared some stories that were really, really nice. Yeah.
So when we're not working, we're eating. There was a lot of good food. We got to try a lot of different things, and you'll see in the bottom picture there, it's one of the restaurants we go to kind of to kick off our time there and to close down our time there. And so we just get together with the group and just have a really nice meal. But we also had, I think in the next slide, lots of interesting things that we're trying. So the picture at the top, you'll see that was after church. Quianap actually climbed up in the tree and got all of those for us. What were those called? Atis. And he would throw them down to us. And so Melissa was our star catcher of the fruit. So we had a lot of interesting things to taste and try. And down on the bottom was just how potluck was, lined up plates. You just go and get a plate on a bamboo floor. And next slide is...
If we go back to the food, Christina had a crew of cooks, and they made some amazing dishes for us. It was very, very, very delicious.
Clearly not just thrown together.
Yes.
No.
I think the next slide, these are our cooks, our wonderful cooks. We have Betsy in the left upper corner, Christina, and then there's the potluck ladies who are just kind of one by one serving up the plates. And down in the bottom left-hand corner, we have Pleading and Menden, and two of the other ladies who would come and help Christina and Betsy do a lot of the cooking for us. And as you can imagine, a lot of hungry people who have been working all day, we eat a lot of food. So they had their hands full feeding us, and they did a fantastic job.
A couple days, Christina was called to other places, and she said, "Mom, can you go help the cooks?" What can I do? Well, they don't know how to make oatmeal. Have no clue. And it's like, I can do oatmeal. So two mornings I did it, and it was fun working with them. And they are precious people. Precious people.
So the ladies that came down, some of the guys, the men that came over to help, no one was getting paid. I mean, we're volunteering to be there, but they also, like, for the people coming out of the mountains, this is their planting time. So, they were sacrificing their time that they could have been working in their fields, doing their things, but they wanted to invest the time. So it was really neat throughout the week hearing Maudil and the girls especially share their stories and experiences, and it's something that, yeah, spending a week working and sweating together, you come to enjoy each other's presence.
In working with particularly the two girls that helped with the food, they had come down from the mountains, and one of them shared, I don't even remember what the story is, but there was loss. Who was it? That parents, both parents. And so I thought, you know what? So afterward, I went to her, made sure Christina was nearby to translate, and just shared briefly. I said, you know, I'm sorry for your loss. I too have lost. And it was a bonding moment, and we hugged and we cried, and it was good.
And they're very shy, but they love hugs. And sometimes that's the only language you need, is a smile and a hug. And you should just see their faces light up when you would just give them a hug. And, you know, they've lost their parents. I mean, some of them don't know what love really looks like. And so just to be able to share that with them, it doesn't take sermons. It doesn't take, you know, these grand meetings. It sometimes just takes living and working alongside them and just showing them that you care. And at the end of a long day, you give them a hug and say, you know, hey, I love you. And that's it.
So we slept in a lot of different places. To kick it all off, we stayed at a hotel like for one night just to get adjusted, get acclimatized, and that's kind of the picture in the middle. We camped for a little bit in our little teepee tents, which also served as a walking stick when we walked up the mountain. The center has a pole that detaches and becomes hiking poles. When we were hiking up to the mountain, in the top left, we slept with mosquito nettings in staff housing by the clinic up in the mountains. And we had lovely little bamboo huts that we stayed in, which I really liked. And in the bamboo huts, we had a special little creature that would come and meow and want to be let in. A cute little gray cat came and stayed in our bamboo hut with us, which is very special. It's a very cute little cat. Down on the farm, on the right, is that the farmhouse? The big house? I don't know. Where we always ate. Yeah, so that's just where we always ate and where we came together for morning or evening worship sometimes. And it's where Christina and Michael, that's their main house when they're living over there. But those are our accommodations.
So it wasn't just a construction time. We actually did some medical ministry while we were there. And so the picture up here is a patient that needed to be transferred to the hospital. And so Rita got to take a ride with them. And Michael was able to fly them. Down on the bottom, you'll see the yellow picture there. That's actually the side of the bush plane. And it says, built for our Creator. And it's a support donors that built that. And when they aren't able to use the helicopter, they do use the plane to be able to bring patients down. And as I said before, Bim Bim goes to the hospital and does all the translation for them. When they're there at the hospital, they don't have anybody. You know, if they need food, someone from outside has to bring food to them. And so Bim Bim would do that. For them. And so while we were in the lowlands, we did have this helicopter trip that took a patient to the hospital, and I think it was tuberculosis patient. So you can see Rita's masked up just because that is something that you don't want to be exposed to. We also had a time of ministry in the mountains as well. So the day we hiked in, we had a 3-hour hike in. We recovered a little bit, went down to the river, which is also a hike, straight down, straight back up. And then we were having dinner that evening, and we got a call from the nurse, Sandra, who had just flown in from the bush plane. She had been down with a patient in the lowlands, and so Christina got a call. You want to explain the call?
Yeah, so Sandra's going past, hopefully going home, and she says, "Oh, listen to this. Somebody's on the radio, and there's some guy who got cut like 11 a.m. this morning, and he's still bleeding." Well, it's like almost 6 o'clock. Well, yeah, by this time it was 6, and then she's like, "You guys are tired, no problem, I can handle it, let me handle it, you guys go eat, go to bed." So we're like, "Oh, yay, Sandra's gonna take this." Well, we get the call 2 hours later when it's 8 o'clock. She says, "I can't get this stopped. And besides that, there's another kid here who has these horrible cramps. He's been playing basketball all day long, didn't bother to drink or eat anything, and now he's having these horrible cramps in his legs and he's screaming in pain." So we're like, "You know what? I think you need help."
So we decided to go up. Christina is going up. Caitlin goes. I tag along. Mariah comes. And so this is not we went to the clinic, got all the supplies, and this isn't, we just walk over to someone's house. You climb up the mountain again to get to where they're at. And so at this point, remember, we've been hiking all day. We're tired. We've eaten. We showered. It's time for bed. And so we're hiking up to really not knowing what we're going to encounter. I mean, you get the story over the radio, but you have no idea what's going to be there. What I heard was there's one patient bleeding and having cramps. And so as we're starting up, Christina was ahead of us, Caitlin and I were together, and we had to stop along the trail, and I told Caitlin, I was like, "Caitlin, I have nothing left at this point. Like, I am really struggling to get up the side of this mountain. I'm tired." And so I just stopped, and in my head, I just said a prayer and said, "Lord, I don't have anything left. You need to get me up the side of this mountain." And immediately, I could feel just some strength come back and just able to go the rest of the way. So we got to the top, and, we're sweating, we're hot, and we hear this young man screaming at the top of his lungs. And my first thought is, okay, the guy cut himself, he's in pain, he's screaming, he's having cramps. Come to find out, it's actually 2 different patients. So we have a guy over here who has his leg cut, we have a guy over here who's screaming, and we're like, okay, divide and conquer. So we go first to the guy who has cut his leg because he's first in our journey, our path. And Sandra's there. That's under control for right now. So we go over to the guy who's screaming in pain. And he was having leg cramps that just would not let go because he was dehydrated. He had been playing basketball all day, had nothing to drink all day long. So at this point, it's kind of okay, what do we do next with him? First thing is try to get a catheter in so we can get some fluids going in. And at that point, the nurse was trying to get a catheter in, and the thing I started to think about is you need to start massaging these cramps. So we had a translation of, because this is a cultural difference here, men and women don't sit together. There is very much divided in church. Men sit on one side, women sit on another side. So we had to ask permission, can we massage his legs, and not be offensive in what we're doing.
Meanwhile, Christina says, "Oh, we have a doctor. We have a doctor. We have, Dr. Vic."
I told her, make sure you tell them I'm a doctor of animals. Animals. So we start massaging his legs to try to ease the cramps that are happening, and having a little bit of trouble getting a catheter in. When someone's dehydrated, their veins are not easy to get catheters in. So Sandra was having a little trouble in his hand, and then I heard a voice say, "Do you want to try?" Looking at me, and I'm like, "Sure, let's try to put a catheter in." So I end up putting a catheter in his arm, and you think, oh, she's a doctor, she can put it in. It's very different when you're doing it in humans who are looking at you in pain, screaming. They can understand kind of what you're saying. Animals can't really understand. And it's a very different experience, but I was sweating. I was just praying, Lord, help me get this in, because right now I'm a little nervous. And so we got the catheter in. We were able to get some fluids going on him. got him some magnesium in, got him to where he was stable, okay? No longer screaming, cramps were, abating. We're like, okay, you just stay here, we're gonna go over there to the guy who cut his leg. So we leave, Christina stays with the one patient, and we go over.
How did he cut his leg?
Machete, I think it was. Yes, yeah, we'll get to that later. So he cut his leg with a machete at 11 o'clock that morning, and he was still bleeding from the wound. So at this point, we're concerned, okay, he's still bleeding, he shouldn't still be bleeding, he's losing some blood. So when we finally get to him, the cut is like this big. It's very, very small. And so for something to be bleeding that long, obviously he's cut, an artery. Thankfully, it was very superficial. And I had two wonderful assistants with Caitlin and Mariah to give me all of the instruments I need. So basically able to suture up the leg, put a compression wrap on there. But the concern is obviously just suturing it up, you're not tying anything off. So is it going to continue to bleed? So with a compression wrap, put that on there, and needed to get him to the clinic to stay overnight. Once again, it's not just a walk next door. So I'll let Caitlin explain what happened next.
So the men took a bamboo pole. They somehow made a hammock on this one bamboo pole. They stuck the man in it, but then they had to prop up his leg to help the compression so it stopped bleeding. So he had his leg up, laying in a hammock with a bamboo pole. And then the men just carried them on his shoulder down this steep downhill at night with flashlights, hopefully not slipping, carried him down to the clinic.
And by the way, we had gotten reports that there were cobras, that they found some there. So, at this point, it's like, okay, we're just trusting the Lord that we're going to make it back down, no further injuries. And we got down to the clinic. I took the compression wrap off. Everything was good, no bleeding. I put another wrap on there, and he stayed there overnight and was able to go home the next day. And what was really fun is that we were able to meet the grandmother of the whole kind of clan there, and just they're a social group. They have community, and so just for her to see that we care about one of her family members and we're there to help them, I think just encourages them and makes them feel loved. Okay, I'm going to turn this over to the crazy stories.
So I tried to change this morning, but we weren't able to. But the crazy should say miracle. When we arrived in Puerto, Christina needed to go to the government office for visa papers for Renee and, oh my gosh, Betsy, jeez. So she said, let's make an adventure. Who wants to go along with? Sorry. So we all jumped out of the back of the truck and off we went. Now, we're walking right along the street. And in Guatemala, they call them tuk-tuks, but they're not. It's a jeepney. It's a motorcycle with a frame-built trike. Okay, with a frame built around it, and then metal. That's your metal roof and doors, and, well, not doors, but, oh yeah, okay. So he pulls in closer to me. I'm walking on the sidewalk, and he pulls in, and he's waving something, and he said, is this yours? And I looked at it, and it looked like my money bag from my Wells Fargo bank. And I went, well, I have one like that. And just earlier, when we were at the Adventist restaurant or cafe, I had gone to pay for our breakfast, and I can't find it. And I'm looking in my pockets, and I'm like, Stacy, did I give it to you? He said, I don't think so. Okay, so we move on. Now this happens. And I said, well, it looks like my envelope. And so he handed it to me and zooms off. So I look in this. it's exactly my money with my receipt. I know it's mine. Amen is right.
What about the backpack?
So the next one was now Melissa and Jen and I are in the motorcycle cart. Trike. And we're leaving to go to the hotel to pick up our backpacks. I don't know if we're checking out or what it was.
From the farm, this is in Brooks.
Yes, in Brooks Point. And so off we go. Bim Bim is he's driving us. And we get to the hotel. Now he's loading all of our backpacks onto the back, which you can't really see, but it's behind where Jen and I are sitting. There's a small, 12-inch, platform or whatever, but you can't just put them there. He's taking the backpacks and clipping them onto the frame up top and clipping every single backpack. Well, then I get to, it's not that black backpack, but it's one like it. And I got to put that in there because we're holding stuff inside. So he said, do you want to clip it in there? I said, no, I'll just shove it in here. So I shoved it in there in one of the holes in the back. And it was tight. We had so much stuff in there, it was tight. So off we went. It's about a 15-minute drive. And we get all the way to the farm driveway. We're in the middle, we're almost at the tent point. And I then looked behind me to check on the backpack. The black backpack was gone. And I went, stop, Bim Bim, stop! My bag is gone. So we hurried, emptied stuff. Bim Bim doesn't move fast anywhere that I've ever seen, that we've ever seen. And he ran to the next motorcycle. It didn't start or something, so he ran all the way to the hangar to get a different motorcycle. Came, picked me up, I hopped on, and off we go. So now we're looking on the side of the road for a backpack. And he would slow down and talk in Tagalog, to see if anybody had seen a black backpack. The roundabout, we went around it to look and see if anybody had tossed it up in the center thing. Can't find it anywhere. We get back, and I told everybody that, we lost the backpack, and Stacy and I are trying to figure out what's in it. And I thought, well, my dirty laundry is in it. Somebody's gonna have a nice surprise. And our, George isn't here, but our beef jerky that him and Stacy made was in it, but we didn't remember that at the time. His GPS watch.
It's a Garmin watch.
Yeah.
$500 watch.
Was hooked on the outside of the backpack, which we did not remember. We didn't remember that it was there. So Gordon, when we had worship that night, Gordon chimed in after prayer and said, and helped that backpack to be returned.
Just simple.
Just that.
Almost seemed like an afterthought, but let's throw this up there anyway.
Yep. And I said, Gordon, that would be a miracle. So 24 hours later, now we have, worked a day at the construction site. And now we're going back for dinner, I think. And Mariah comes out with a black backpack, and she stands in front of me. And I'm like, what are you telling me? What do you? And then I went, is that my backpack? That's my backpack! How did you get it back? I was just freaking out. And then we noticed that the watch was hooked on it. I didn't even look inside. I was just absolutely amazed that it was back. And I said, Gordon, it's a miracle. So everything was in there. Everything was intact. I can't totally remember the story, but somebody had found it. Okay.
So these people from down the road who live on our road had found it, and they started asking around, and they could tell it's not your typical Filipino backpack and stuff. So they're like, where do the Americans live? So they did a little sleuthing around, and they show up at our place at maybe 6:30 in the morning, and they're like, hey, is this yours? And I go running out there. I was like, praise the Lord. And sure enough, it was like, this is a miracle. And these blessed, very honest, very sweet people had took it upon themselves to bring it back.
I had been told by somebody, I don't know if it was you or somebody, that the people that had found it and that person's dad and whatever was trying to figure out who these Americans were and where they were, and then Christina's name was brought up, and they knew Christina, and so they were like, we have to get that back to her. So that's cool. Okay. Oh, do you want to tell the motorcycle one, or?
Yeah, real quick. The motorcycle ran out of gas, didn't it? Isn't that what the deal was? Yeah. And so we were trying to figure out how we were going to coordinate getting it back to the farm. I'm sorry? Oh. Without gas. And so...
This was on Sabbath. So I ran out of, I'm going to fill in here.
Yeah.
So I ran out of gas. There's no gas gauge, and it had started dying earlier, and I was like, so I switched it to reserve, and it was able to start. It's like, okay, I know I've got maybe a fuel issue, not a big deal, but I was like, I want to verify that it was truly, the fuel's getting low. So I switched it back to the on position, and it kept running all the way to church. I was like, huh. And so later in the afternoon, we were going to go to the river, and long story short, it dies, and I'm right next to this little hut, and they offer to go, we can go buy gas. I was like, no, I'm not going to worry about it right now. I didn't want to do it on Sabbath, and I asked if I could just park it there at their house. They're like, oh yeah, that's fine, and really sweet people. They took my helmet off. Come to find out, they took my helmet off the motorcycle, took it to their house, and no one would take it, and I just let them know that I was going to just walk up to the river, and the dad was like, I'd like to take you. So I get on the back of his motorcycle, and we, go on up to the river, and come back, and I'll let Stacy continue.
You were doing well. Mike's attitude is just very just no big deal. We're just go with the flow kind of guy, and just what didn't seem concerned that his bike was sitting on the side of the road.
It wasn't my bike, first of all. So.
Okay, and so just enjoyed the time there at the river, and we came back, and now we're trying to figure out, well, we certainly can't leave this thing. In my mind, I'm thinking this is a valuable piece of equipment. We can't just leave it here. And I think you were just planning on coming back the next day, weren't you?
I think so, or
yeah.
I had already kind of thought about towing it back.
Okay.
So
then we decided to figure out how were we going to tow this thing. So, my years of water skiing experience, we long lined. I was on the back holding a rope that was tied to the back of the Jeep, and off we went. And
this was at the very, very beginning.
Yep.
And we were, once we got actually going down the highway, then it was better.
Yeah. So it was fun. What was it, half hour? 20 minutes? Something like that?
Yeah. And our fear here, the actual pulling wasn't an issue, but, we're about to cross the national highway, which is just a normal road, but, Stacy's trying to hold on, which you're about to see, and we didn't want Bim Bim, who's never pulled someone on a motorcycle like this.
Little unsteady.
We wanted him to be nice and slow and steady so it doesn't pull us.
Yeah.
It was.
So, Mike was steering the motorcycle, and I was holding the rope off to the side so that the rope didn't get tangled up in the front wheel.
And as Bim Bim's pulling out, since he's doing it really slow, which is good. I think there was a semi truck coming. Anyways, you'll see the truck here. There it is.
Boom.
So it's like you don't want the traffic to keep going, and
So it's a half an hour back.
You didn't hear that. He goes, and it's half an hour back. So I just wanted to say back at that. It was hilarious to watch the people as we were driving down the road. I mean, this is in the Philippines. Anything goes. You don't really have your lanes. You can pack, 50 people in a truck, and, seatbelts don't matter, and nothing matters. You can do anything you want. But when they were going down the road, you should have seen the heads turning and going, what are they? It was pretty funny.
What you'll see on these little, not the trike, but they have a little carriage on the side. You have cows, pigs. You can have 8 people. I mean, there is no rules. Whatever you feel is okay. There are no rules. We didn't see in the 3 weeks we were there, we didn't see a single police officer in 3 weeks. And then later someone said, well, they only come out when it's comfortable.
So
Anyway,
fun
it
little
was all
story.
safe.
Sorry. Fun little story here at the bottom. You see Moises. This is the son of Betsy and Renee, who joined us. She's from Peru. He's from Venezuela. They were a part of this community. They came with us down to the Philippines. Moises had this dream, and he told his mommy, I don't want to take piano anymore. I want to take violin. Well, in the Philippines, violins aren't that easy to come by. But amazingly enough, the Lord provided a violin. Melissa brought it over. Tira helped as well. And we were able to surprise Moises with his own violin. He was very tickled.
So we're just going to touch a little bit on our hike. So we worked for a week construction. The first weekend we spent down in Brooks Point at the farm, and then at the end of our construction week, we hiked up into the mountains so that we could spend the weekend and Sabbath up in Camantian. So you guys heard a little bit about the hike last year. Praise the Lord, it went better this year. It was not nearly as difficult, mainly because it had not rained. It was not wet, it was not slick, it was nice and dry. And you can see the one picture in the middle, how several sections it is straight up. You are going straight up the side of the mountain. And the picture all the way on the left side, that's Cleonap. He is a huge help. Right side, well, looking this side. So he is a huge help. We had some people stop by and they had coconuts. And so they cracked open some coconuts for us, which was very refreshing and gave us a few calories that we needed to get up the rest of the way. So just some pictures of us heading up to the top, some beautiful views along the way. You can see all the way on the right-hand side, that is Bugbug, is that right? Where we stopped for breakfast. It's kind of at the top of a ridge. And we did have a little bit of a setback. One of the ladies who did all the cooking for us, she was having some difficulty with the trip. She had some pain that she was dealing with, some chronic pain in her stomach. And so we were there trying to help her, and she was not able to make the rest of the trip. She had to go back down. So we spent a little bit of time at the top there, and it was good rest for people to kind of take a minute. A lot of wildlife. You can see goats. We had a man who was walking with his pig, and the pig was just walking with him up the side of the mountain. So Sabbath in Palawan. Sabbath is a very unique experience. You show up and they plan the service right there on the spot. And so sometimes you're asked to do special music or do the sermon. Thankfully, we had a little bit of a heads up, but Pastor Harley was able to share the sermon time. We were able to do some testimonies. And you can see on the right-hand side, this is potluck. You just sit around in a circle, you load up the food on plates, they set them all out, and you just go grab, or banana leaves, yep. You go grab a plate and eat. And then the picture in the middle is the church down in the lowlands that we went to, and on the left-hand side is the Tom Long River, which is always a good, refreshing trip when it's hot after Sabbath.
I did think that maybe to give everyone here a taste of what church is like, that I had the suggestion that we should do that, some of that spur of the moment planning here to see how people react.
So have a special music in your back pocket that you can bring out at the last minute, or a sermon. Yeah, or a children's story. And you can see, you can't see it in the picture, but on the right-hand side, that's Pastor Harley shaking the hands of these little boys, and just look at their faces. They're smiling, and the kids down there were sharing during worship time as well.
Melissa doesn't want to share. So after church, Melissa and I were able to be part of the Adventist youth activity that they have in the afternoons. So this is pretty much all of the youth up in Camontian, is that of this age group? And a lot of them spoke English, which is really nice. And some of the teachers participated, and Kuyana participated, and they went down to the end of the airstrip, and they got together in this giant circle that you see here. They sang songs, and a lot of the songs they sang in English, so Melissa and I could chime in on those. They played a game, and then they asked me to tell a story, spur of the moment. So I got in front of all these kids and told them a story. And the teacher, okay, you see me in the top picture, so to my left is this little woman. Her name's Trixie, Mom Trixie, and she's one of the teachers there. She graciously got our beds ready for us when we came up the mountain. She helped us with pretty much everything, kind of like a coordinator while we were there. Her English is remarkable, and she works amazing wonders with the children. She is such a heart of gold, and her testimony is incredible. I might share that later. I don't know what else to say about this. Age group, they were probably middle school to teens. She lives in the dorm, and there's 4 girls staying with her in the dorm. She helps them prepare meals, and they bring what meals they can from their homes, which are probably 2 hours, 1 hour, 2 hours hike. And then they're starting a garden in the dorm so the girls can grow their own food, which is pretty special.
I have one thing. Can you go back to the previous slide? So in the background, you see these black burned areas on the mountainside. That's their farmland. So when you think of planting, don't think of the nice flat rice fields or something. No, that's maybe their rice field on the side of the mountain. So just wanted to point that out. Yeah, erosion happens. But
In addition to AY, they also have a Pathfinder program. So after this program, they practice their formations. If any of you have been in Pathfinders, they stood in line and went through all their drills, and it was pretty neat to see all these kids, they're a little wild. They're a little, they grow up in the mountains, and then they're just in formation and, straight and form their little lines. They, turn right, left face. I don't know what they do, turn in circles. It's really special to see. And the main, the message of this service that they were doing was have a song in your heart when you go through hard times, when you're walking along the way. They're have these scripture songs to remember, to guide you, to keep in your heart always. And so they were teaching the kids scripture songs to help remember scripture and to give them a hope and a promise. I think on this trip, more than any other trip I've been on, and I've been to the Philippines 2 other times, I think this is the time that and I think most of us, were able to connect with the people in a very, very special way. I'll tell you, I told you about Trixie and one of the teachers there, and she shared with me her testimony. And I don't know if have you heard her testimony? I'll share it real quick. She said I was able to share it with you. She sat down with me after church on Sabbath, and she said, Caitlin, I want to tell you my story. Her father was abusive and an alcoholic. Her mother ran away with a boyfriend, and she said they grew up Catholic. And I'm like, Catholic? Why are you doing up here as a missionary in Kamantian? And she's from a whole nother island. Her family wouldn't let her go to church on Sabbath. She ended up like in her room. She was reading through the Bible, and she's like, why don't we go to church on Saturday, on Sabbath? Why are we Catholic and go to church on Sunday? And she came to find an Adventist church, and she would sneak out of her house and go to this Adventist church. And her dad found out that she was sneaking out on Sabbaths to go to church. And he said, no, you can't do that. And he locked her in her room. And she's like, well, I still want to go to church on Sabbath. She would sneak out the window and climb down and go to church on Sabbath. And her family found out that she was escaping her room, and they put bars on the windows and to keep her from going to church on Sabbath. And then she kept Sabbath in her heart in her room by herself until she went to school, became a teacher, and she ended up coming and feeling the Lord's calling to be a teacher in Kamantian and sharing God's love and the truth about the Sabbath with the children there. So, does anyone else want to share there?
Well, and as you can see, even the kids, just to be able to have other kids there, Moises and Skylar and the girls, and, Pleading and Menden, I mean, they were such amazing ladies, and just being able to spend time with them and get to know them a little better. And they were ones that, like I said, they definitely liked the hugs. So Melissa and Caitlin can share, but they both had sponsored children here in the Philippines through Child Impact International. And amazingly enough, they were able to meet their sponsored children. And so they had a very special time with that.
This is my sponsored child, Phoebe K. The cool thing is that her mom was cooking for us all week. And so I got to meet the mom first. And then once we hiked into the mountains, I got to meet her daughter. Her daughter's 11 and in 5th grade, I think. And I started sponsoring her when she was in 3rd grade. And it was really neat to meet her in person. We had written letters, and I'd seen pictures of her growing up, but just to meet her in person, she's a lovely young lady. She was super shy at first. She didn't want to speak to me in English, although her teacher, Trixie, assured me she did know how to speak a little English. And through the weekend, she did start becoming more brave. But she brought me the sweetest gift when I first arrived. You can see him holding a small bag of rice, and her dad grew that in one of the little mountain rice patches on the side of the mountain. Her dad is a teacher. He teaches 2nd grade. I teach 3rd and 4th grade, so that was kind of neat. And he makes $50 a month as a teacher at an Adventist school. I will not complain about my salary anymore. And in his spare time, right, like he has any, because they're going 24/7 there because it's a boarding school and they work on the weekend too, he farms rice and probably doesn't get a whole lot of rice in return, probably enough for his family to eat, maybe a little to sell. But they brought me a bag of rice, and then on Sabbath, the dad brought my dad a bag of rice. I mean, that's a huge sacrifice when you're making so little money and you're working so hard. So that was super special. And I brought her a little backpack full of school supplies and other things, and I really wanted her to open it, but she was too shy to do it in front of me. But anyway, it was a neat connection to meet her in person.
So the mountain rice, yeah, it's a very special gift. Like that's like one of the most special things that someone will give because it's a huge sacrifice of time. And imagine where it's the planting, the harvesting, and then you have to thresh it by hand. You have to just a lot of work goes into it, and when you pour a cup of rice in to cook, you may look at it differently once you realize the amount of work that the mountain rice takes.
Have you had any yet? Yes. Do you want to? Okay. All right. So we did have a little free time. It wasn't all work. We were able to go to the beach. We had a nice meal there. You can see two gentlemen on the right-hand side, probably up to no good. We were able to go, Bim Bim took us to the market down in the corner there, and just tons of different things, a lot of different food there, baskets, different things that you can find. And then you can see Madil is playing with Kanan. They had a lot of fun playing.
The bottom right picture of the three girls, we had left Bim Bim's family's house where he introduced us to Grandma and his aunt, and then we found out that the beach was like 5 or 10 minutes walking distance, and we said, we're that close, let's go. So we walked over there, and this is literally, you can't see it from this picture, but right behind me is the ocean. And these girls ran up to us and said, where are you from? You know, what's your name? And they just kept kind of hanging out and wanted to take pictures with us and talk to us, and they wanted to talk English. And so it was cute watching and hearing them try and connect with us.
And they thought Gordon was a celebrity. They came up to, I don't think they've seen someone so tall. They were in awe of this giant. And all the little children swarmed around him. It was so cute.
And now we are, we'll show you some highlights of Ray's plane and the flights that we got to take.
So on our last day there, before we were heading to the airport, Ray, who apparently does not need an excuse to fly, he loves to fly, took several of us up in the plane. And so it's a tiny plane, you know, room for 2 people in there. And I know my flight, when we got back down, he's like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, that was awesome. Because we hit quite a bit of turbulence. And you think turbulence in a big plane is something, turbulence in a small plane is a little scary. I was like, yeah, that was amazing. So we were able to go up, see the coast, kind of see all the land around. And there were about 3 or 4 of us who went up that day. And so he was able to take us up and give us a little tour. This is a video of the plane taking off. It's a very short runway. Yeah. Yeah. And this plane is actually made out of the very, very lightweight construction, and it's fabric. It's actually fabric that makes up the outer part of the plane. So you can imagine how light it is. And Ray is amazing flying that, because you can see how light it is. Any little wind, any little thing can just push you right off course pretty easily. And while we were there, we were able to do a little bit of work with the animals as well. So there were 3 puppies on the farm. There are now 4 puppies on the farm. Puppies needed some vaccinations, so Christina was able to get a hold of some vaccines, and so we had a little vaccine clinic while we were there. Also, while we were there, Bim Bim, so the one in the red shirt in the middle here, found a little chicken that he wanted to have as a pet. So for them, they are pets, a Chinese chicken. They are pets. They actually will keep them in their yard. They'll keep a little string on them. They wander around, and so they love these little creatures. So you see the little chick is being passed around in the back, and then up in the upper right corner, that is Coco, which is Kanan and Mariah's little puppy that they are very sad to leave behind. And then you'll see that's Blackie. In the middle, and that is Madil's little puppy. Blackie is a force to be reckoned with. Very much an instigator of the scrapping. So Blackie's middle name should be Scrappy.
And his owner, Madel, is in the lower left
Yep, so Modell is the one holding the little chick. That's the little chick. The little chick made it all around the back of the little vehicle, even riding on Coco's back for a little while. So it was very, very used to being handled. We did see some monkeys on the side of the road, and then just some creepy crawlies that we encountered. And this is our group. At the end of our trip, we gathered together just to get a group picture, and just an amazing group of people. You know, not one person, was just hanging around not doing anything. I mean, everyone had a job. Everyone helped each other. It was an amazing team that was able to come together. And here we are, getting ready to leave and come back. And so we just had an amazing time. And if you've never been on a mission trip, I would highly recommend it. You know, mission work, it's not about going and always just helping the people. I learned so much just being able to go on the trip. I learned a lot about myself. You know, I learned a lot about what God is calling, me to. Being able to connect with other people and kind of see the things that God will ask you to go through. He is always there with you. And this is for building your character. And you will never have more of a character test than when you are trying to accomplish things that you really don't know how to do, or don't have all the equipment to do. So I would highly recommend, just being open to hearing God's calling and to go on a mission trip. But also, you don't have to go on a trip to be in mission work. Each and every one of us has a mission. We are all unique. We are all different. We are all in contact with different people through our jobs. And sometimes, as most of us know, a job can be a huge mission field. There are people who are aching to know and to hear about God. And so just being open to say, I will go wherever you send me, Lord. And sometimes it may just be, I go to work and I share you with others. And sometimes if you have an experience of going to another area in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is it for our presentation. We thank you.